Okay, welcome everyone to this tutorial on Photoshop. I will walk you through a very basic operation of Photoshop. Photoshop is fantastic program. It has been around probably since the beginning of the Macintosh, the Mac computer, and it's a very sophisticated program, and it has been developed very well, and people are using it for all sorts of image creation, manipulations, and it's has been the prime software from Adobe, right? When Adobe's first start the company, I think Photoshop is the major one. So if you are mastering Photoshop, you can probably make a living, out of just using Photoshop. Graphic designer has been using it, and there has been making poster, creating graphics. So Adobe become this incredible company, right, that provides all the creative suite. Um, Photoshop, what used to be a standalone program, where once you purchase it, you can use it as long as you like, but there won't be updates. But now Adobe goes for a subscription system. So anyone who want to use their program has to subscribe, right? So in a way, you have to pay the fee every month to continue using the latest version. Now, the thing is, if you're using it to make a living, if you're using it for all sorts of productions, I think it's worthwhile. It's definitely worthwhile. But since you're learning it, I think it's okay to use the trial version just to get a taste of what it is like. Now, if you subscribe to the Adobe Photoshop suite, then you can subscribe a package of all their programs, or you can just subscribe to the single program. So now I subscribe to just Photoshop, and you can open the software from the Creative Suite platform. And then when you open, you see this very basic platform interface. Now, so when you want to open up to design something, then the first thing you need to set up is really how big is your canvas, right? Like how big is your document? Um, so you go for new, and this is something I like you to pay attention to. Now, for example, if you want to design a A4 kind of thing, then um, it's good for printing out as a document. Or if you want to design a bigger poster, that poster usually comes in A2 size or even bigger. In that case, it means that the final product that you are making would have to print out on the printer, right? So you get a physical poster. Sometimes you don't need to do that, right? If you want to create graphics for the web or things like that, then the resolution of your final product doesn't need to be as big as a poster or like a printing document. So that would determine the sort of resolutions that you should set your document. Now, so in these settings here, I am for sort of creating, for example, a poster. So a poster comes down to maybe like 2 feet by 3 feet. So that would be 24 inches, and the height would be 36, right? So that would be the size of my poster. And if you want to print out your poster, you should make sure that your design is of printing resolution, which is around 300 pixel per inch. This is the figure that you should consider. So in effect, all the graphics, all the things that you put into this poster has to be at this resolution. If you're downloading a nice picture from the internet, if you're using those picture, you should check the resolution of that picture. If it's just 72 um, pixel per inch, then it may not be good enough to print it out. If you're just using it on the web, it looks fine, on the screen monitor or laptop. But if you want to print a sharp, nice, crisp image, those image the resolution of your photo or any kind of graphics has to be up to 300. So this is something that is very important for anyone using Photoshop because this is like a professional print program. It allows you to create very high resolution graphics and poster and design work. So you can finally make a printing out of your work. On the other hand, this is something that you may want to consider. If you are working with computer graphics image that will be shown on the screen only, then RGB color would be the usual platform that you work with. If you are designing to print things later, right? Usually the print color is very different from the screen. So what you see on the screen may not translate perfectly to what you see on the print. So if you're using RGB color to put your graphics together, keep in mind that these color are good for screen graphics, for website, for anything that you look at on the screen. But these color may not looks good if you're using it to print out a poster. Usually, for print material, the graphic designer would go for the CMYK color. Okay, so graphic design will know what type of mix of the color would be good for CMYK. And usually, if you go for CMYK, you can do a test print from the printer so that those color that comes out as print will be exactly what you have in mind. So you won't get surprised when a stack of poster comes back to you and then you realize, oh no, some color is not exactly how I expected. So CMYK is for print, remember that, for publishing in physical material, print and poster and paper and stuff like that. And RGB is really for the web, right? For what you see. If you do something that stay on the web, you won't be printing it out, then then you can just go with RGB to design your thing. So once you set these things, resolution and color mode, then you're ready to create your canvas, right? So this is what I call a canvas. So this is like the image where you put all your graphics onto it. Okay. Now I'm going to use my film poster and DVD box design as a way to show you the example. I have shown this novel cover that I designed in the lecture before, and so you get familiar. This looks relatively simple, right? This is like a cover that I sent to Amazon if I want to publish my novel. This graphics has to be, as they require, has to be above 200 or 300 resolution, right? Because if you want to print this out properly with sharp graphics, good colors, and everything sharp, it has to be at least 300 resolution, the pixel per inch, right? If it's below that, then what you get would be image that is soft, the edge would be soft, which is not what you want, and the lines will be soft or jagged edge, what we call like something that is fade out on the print material, and that would be a disaster, right? Basically, you don't want to print out things like that that is not sharp unless you want it to be, right? And the color could be off, things like that. So be aware whether your final product is for print or for the web. So this would be a distinction. Um, Now I will also be showing my DVD cover design. So as you can see, this is like a leaflet that put on to the DVD when you sell DVD disc copies, and you have to design your material in such a way that it's sort of like the front, the edge, the edge of the box, and the back, right? So usually on the back there are tons of information, and you need to arrange them in a nice manner so that people read it and clearly understand the story and got into it and something enticing, looking good, things like that, so that people will purchase the DVD, right? So this is like a product. And so I will open up this file and just to walk you through what it entails for Photoshop to create graphics like this. Once again, this graphics is 300, at least 300 resolution, so that when you print it out, the leaflets, that put into the DVD box, everything is sharp, as you can see. The color should be right, things like that. All right. Okay, so let me open up this particular file from my film that I made for my DVD, and you can take a look of what entails the working with a Photoshop file. Okay, so here I will open up um, my file, and I will go to my tutorial file, and then open up this file. Okay, so once you open up, you'll see what's the component of the work. Now, so you can see that this is the intended print leaflet for the DVD cover, right? And you can see these guidelines. Okay, these are cut lines. What it means is that when you print out something um, like book cover, or when you print out a poster, when you print out something such as this, like a DVD cover, um, you print your image a little bit larger, right? So you leave some room for the cutter to cut your image to the right size. So when you print out a stack of image like that, the cutter will cut your image according to this green line here. This is called the cutter's line, right? It means that when the cutter cut on this line, this particular material, this piece will be exactly the size that you want to use, right? So in effect, you need to make your design a little bit larger so that when the cutter cut on it, it's produce no white edges, right? So everything kind of flush all the way to the edge of your piece. So it will be looks finished. Right? So this is how the publishing world operates. So when you design something, you have to make your design slightly larger and use these guidelines to demarcate the exact size that you want when it's being cut, when it's being printed out and cut by the cutter. All right. And so here is this file that you can see there are many, many items. Basically, in Photoshop, you produce the backdrop of your canvas first, right? So this is like a poster I want to do. So I create the size. This is 2 feet by 3 feet big and is at 300 resolution. It means that when I print out everything on this poster, things will be sharp. All the images, everything would be sharp as I want it, and you won't get surprised. So all kinds of image that you put onto this poster, it has to be big enough, right? The resolution has to be um, precise enough so that um, those image would be as sharp as you want it and won't looks fuzzy. Okay, so now, so let me decipher what's kind of things that compose this image. You can see there are tags, all right, and you can see there are images and some of them graphics. So basically, once you have your backdrop, like the backdrop of your poster or your design, then you basically lay out everything's on top. For example, this is like a photo from the film when we took a still shot from the film with the actress in front and the actor near her at the back. So this is a nice shot. I like to use it. So it is somewhere along here that this shot is being used. I have another shot at the back, which I cover. This is not as good because the cloud is not as beautiful. So I didn't use this. So I cover it up with this particular shot. Okay, so when I go over here on the right side, as you can see, it's called layers. This is the main operation of Photoshop, where you put layers and layers of graphics on top of each other and arrange them properly, the location, the size, and start laying out your design. So here you can see that there are different layers, right? Um, this composed of a lot of different layers. For example, from the very, very top, um, I have these words, right? This whole text that is made up of this particular layer. Now, to select this particular text, I can just go here. And basically, this is a text box where you input your text, okay? So if you want to work on this text, basically in Photoshop, there is a T. This is basically to select the text and do some change or editing, right? So this is like a program that is sort of like a word processing program in a way, right? So so this text, you can change the color of your text if you want. So for example, let me zoom in here. So you can see that the texts are white color, right? So I select this and I can change it to white color, okay? And so you can go back if you don't want that the text is being changed, right? So like I should select all of this and make sure that my text is colored white, right? So that it stand out from the black, okay? Okay, so now it's being white. If I want my text to be red, maybe blue, slightly blue, bluish, bluish green maybe, then I can just go here and go okay, and then just select it and click OK, and then my text change. Okay, so my text change. So you can see I can change the color of my text just like that. Okay, select the text and then change color and then press OK. All right. So if I don't want it, I want to go back to my white text, I can go back to edit and undo, right? So you can see that Photoshop allows you to manipulate and put in any text. Like this is another layer that I put my English text. This is the layer that I put my Chinese text. Now, if I select this layer, I can, of course, do a lot of things to it. I can move it, right? I can, if you click on this cross, it means that moving this, and you can move it along, right? And sometimes if you want to do things very precise, you don't just use this mover here. You can use your arrows in your keyboard to move things, right? Like what I'm doing here, I'm just pressing my arrows so that it move the text click by click. Okay. And here I put in some film photos, um, like still movie still that I like from. So I make it another layer. Okay, and this is another layer. Okay, this is the third layer, another layer for these three photos, right? Of course, now if you select this layer, um, you can make it larger, right? You can make the photo larger by by enlarging it. Okay, so here you can do some adjustment to the image, right? You can see it right away. So now Photoshop is very intelligent because it could highlight if you want to do things uh, in a different color adjustment, it will do it. Okay, and I can even control contrast of these particular photos. So I won't be touching it. So now if I want to transform it, make it bigger, right? Um, I can actually just do something like this, right? I can just drag it and make the photo larger and smaller, and I can move it. I can move it any way I like. All right. So so this is how you start laying out your design so that the text goes properly along what you need to put on for information, right? You work with a lot of different information and then you make things very organized and good to look at. And people won't be overwhelmed by all the information, and yet it's pleasing to look at, right? Now, so so there are some basic design principles for laying out things like that, which is like you line up your text and your image properly, right? Here, my image sort of goes with my text, and Photoshop is very intelligent. It gives you this guide that you can line up your text. Like this one here, maybe I should move it a little bit so that it's kind of lined up at the edge, right? All right. So these are the image, these are the text, and you can start to see how things are layered and then put on top of each other. These are some of the graphics, okay? Some of the graphics that I put, and you can see that if I click the eye next to this layer, it means that it hides it, right? So that it means that you'll be not seeing it. And when you hide your stuff, um, it um, it won't print out, right? If you hide it when you output your image, when you output your poster final work, it won't comes out. So make sure that when you unhide it before you to print. Okay, so here comes down a little bit here are the text, right? Some of the text that I create for some of these titles here. And some of these I hide it, right? If I unhide it, then it will be seen as overlapping. So I hide it. And here is another text. Now, these layer can be dragged on top of each other, right? So if you want to have a layer that is on top, then you have to make sure that this layer is on top, right? Whereas this is the backdrop, right? This is the backdrop of the image. So it's down here. If I drag this layer on top like that, then it's cover up all my text, right? So I have to drag it back to the right position so that it won't cover my my stuff. All right. So so once again, you can see that all of these tags are being created by simply creating a text box, right? This is a text box here. And when you have a text box, you can just click on the image to create a layer of text like this. Right here, once I click, right, a new layer is created here. It's layer 3. And I can start putting text on it. For example, dream trips, small dream trips, and I can make this text as large as I want. For example, 18 points, and I can go with the type of fonts that I find interesting. I have been using the Euro style. The Euro style form is particular for my film Dream Trips. So here it doesn't have Euro style, right? It doesn't have Euro style. It has futures, doesn't have Euro style. So this is kind of interesting. It's a very interesting futuristic style, but it doesn't really fit my film Dream Trips, right? Um, and and once you have your text, you can use the mover to move it around, okay, like that, okay, and place it that you find appropriate, okay. So these are the layers, the different layers that make up the whole thing, and and sometimes, for example, my title Dream Trips, I want some effect to it. As you can see, it seems to be glowing. So you can create all sorts of effects for your titles. And for effects, you can go up to the filters and start playing with these all kinds of different filters that you can blur it. Okay, so I won't be touching it because I don't want this effect, but you can change colors and you can do a lot of things to specific layers, to specific um, items, graphic items. So now some of these graphics I like to point out. Let me search for it. So this is the backdrop. Okay, this is the backdrop. I use dark blue. And let me search for the particular item. And the Morphic widescreen, dream trips. So you can click on all the layers and start to see the different graphics that is being laid out on the design. Okay. Now you can see that I use these particular layers to create this glowing effect. I create a layer, and then when I create another layer of it and try to make a glow of it, then you see the text like glowing a little bit, right? And this is the main text. And behind it is another text with dream trips, but I used a blur effect on this so that when it's blurred, it gives you a sense of this word is glowing a little bit. You can see the effect here. So this is what I learned from some tricks, right? So I want to particularly uh, check out this particular layer. Okay, so this image, this particular photos comes with these graphics, right? This is the graphics that I created also with very thin lines. And this particular graphics, you can see that it doesn't have a background, right? So when you put this graphic on top of this photo, then it will only show the lines of the graphics. The background would be the photos. So this is a kind of effect that I want to create, right, for the film, because the film has to do with um, this computerized dreaming, right, where you go inside your dream with the computer so that it kind of readings what you have in your dream, things like that. Okay. So when you finish laying out your whole graphics, okay, um, then basically these layers are all here. Some of them are visible, some of them you hide it, right? And make sure that your layer it's all proper, right? Now, for example, I have created this untitled layer here. Is I can hide it because I don't want it, right? So I hide it before I output. Okay. So so once you finish this, right? Once you have set everything, everything looks all right, ready to print. For example, I have been asking my class, design class, to print out their poster for presentation, right? So when you print out your poster, you make sure that this whole file has to be at least 300 pixel per inch, the resolution, so that all you see these graphics, the text will be all sharp, right? And once you are ready to print, basically you can either save the whole file as a Photoshop file, the PSD. All right. So this Photoshop file is like finished, and you can send it to the printer or your own printer to start printing your poster. All right. So this is a Photoshop format. Okay. But at the same time, if you want to lock everything, if you want to make sure that, the printer won't mess with your design, sometimes they will open up Photoshop to print it, right? And sometimes they see the layer, they may, touch it and then something wrong, and then they forgot to unhide things. So they will print out something that you don't want, right? So basically, you want to lock your poster. You can save the whole thing as a TIFF file. A TIFF file is a very, very dense, large file, so it contains all the information of your Photoshop file. And then you send the TIFF file to the printer, and everything will be locked, right? Everything that exactly what you want it to be, and then they print the TIFF file, and then it's the right resolution. Okay, so this is Photoshop, and Photoshop allows you to do, you can see that much precise control of your image and your text and your graphics. And it's very different when you're working with Canva, right? Canva sort of give you this, I would say it's almost like a fast food version of graphics. It's already give you the templates, you just fill in the information, and then everything is done for you. But Photoshop, it means that you are the artist working on the blank canvas. You design your poster, you design your image. the way exactly you want it to line up. A lot of people who learn Adobe, uh, the software, they also learn Illustrator, right? Illustrator allows you to create graphics and very precise curves, beautiful graphics, and to be able to print your graphics very, very sharp, right? But eventually, you can just use Photoshop to print out your graphics, right? And since we have AI now to create graphics, so as long as the AI produce high resolution graphics, then your graphics can be made with AI and it can be printed out very, very high resolution. So in effect, I thought that I need to learn Illustrator at some point, but I realized that at some point, Photoshop is the thing to go for because eventually everything is being put together in Photoshop. You mastermind the whole design in Photoshop and then you just make it available as an output. So Photoshop still reigns as one of the incredible graphic manipulation, graphic control software all around, and it's worth to pay for it, right? It's a very, very good program. Um, Now, so I'm going to open up again another file to just to take a look because this is simpler. All right. So I have been working on my novels cover. So this is also Photoshop, right? As you can see that I have a backdrop of if you go to image size, okay, you will see your document size. So my document is basically a book cover, the size of 6 inches by 10 inches. Okay. So this book cover is slightly larger than the outcome of the book. As I mentioned, if you print out this page, you have to be able to cut it, right? And I didn't do any cut mark for this book because Amazon will be doing it for me. They would ask me to just do this size and then they will cut their book to the right size that they want, right? So I have to make sure that all the image kind of um, goes to the edge and the resolution is 300 here. Okay, and you can see the different layers again. I create this particular triangle in Photoshop as a graphics, right? Basically, I just draw a square and then putting all the squares together to create this graphics. Okay, so there are tons of this little square. And then the background is simple, right? It's just a black background. And this particular image is something that I search for on the web, a photo of the Earth. So I make sure that this photo is high resolution enough that is at least as 300 um, pixel per inch. Okay, so this particular one, I put these photos here. So now I get the backdrop, I got the Earth surface, and then these are the tags that I put in, right? I put in the tags. These are the tags. The tags like this, you can do vertical tags, like if it's Chinese, you can do vertical tags, right? So you can do it vertically and you can do it horizontally. Now, this text I deliberately adjusted so that it's turned a little bit. Okay, so the adjustment should be let me see around transform, and then I turn it at an angle here. Okay. So so the text would be at an angle. Okay, I'm using this particular fonts. So all the thing that you want to do with your item, with your layers, would be here. Okay, so you change it, you manipulate it, and so this part is kind of locked. Let me see why. Okay, so this is turned. So if I turn this, then my text is turned. Okay, so you can see that I'm manipulating the angle. All right. So even this angle, this particular view, let me zoom in a little bit, is turned, right? This particular image, this square is turned at 5 degree here, okay? And all of these square is at 23 degree, okay? So I create this whole squarish grid with little square like that and put it all together. Like you can see that all the layers of this square is being placed. All right. So it takes some time to make this graphic. And then this is the fonts that I want to use. So I'm using this Dean condensed. Right? Font is very important for the identity of any names that you want to create. So this is a very simple graphics that you can create on Photoshop, but of course it's you can go as complex as you want with many layers just to make sure that your layers, all of them resolution enough, right? Resolution adequate for if you want to print it out. If you want to just show this image on the web, this is fine enough, right? The normal resolution for web-based image is 72 um, pixel per inch, right? 72. That's the regular graphics that you see on web pages and like that. But if you want to print it, it's 300. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So once you finish with all these, then you save this as a Photoshop file or a TIFF file, and then it's good for print. Okay, so this is how Photoshop allows you to manipulate and do things at micro level, very precise, creating very strong sharp graphics. The text would comes out just as strong. People used to do book layouts in Illustrator, or now even Adobe has bookmakers. Then because those software produce very sharp text, right? Mainly for printing and publishing. But now Photoshop is sophisticated enough that the text that it handles also is very sharp because people need to create posters, things like that. They want the proper sharp graphics of text, even in Photoshop, right? Now, if you are taking a pictures of anything, let me just find a pictures to work with. Um, So just an example, right? Photoshop used to be a place where you manipulate your picture, the picture that you digital pictures that you took, right? So just to give you an example, for example, I have been collecting um, some graphics, okay? Okay, so this is like a capture picture. on my desktop, right? So now it's being captured, it's like a shot like that. So normally when you use Photoshop, you want to manipulate your pictures, right? So the usual ways is changing the color of your pictures, right? Um, so you want to, of course, you want to change the brightness, such as this. You make it brighter, the contrast, higher contrast, change the contrast like that. Okay, so you want to change the hue, the saturation, then you go to the image and then you move your hue. Now this is more greenish, this is more purplish, right? You shift your pictures, and of course the saturation this is much more saturated, right? So you check your image size. So this is only web, you know, screen-based resolution. It's good for the screen, but not good to print out, right? If you print this out on a large poster, things will look very soft. Okay. So on the other hand, you know, there are all kinds of filters that you can manipulate um, on your pictures. Okay. So you can play with these filters such as blur. So if I want to blur the whole photos, then I can just do this. And it's not very blur. So the filters, I can make, maybe I can do some other thing that is more obvious, like oil paint. So if you do something like that, then the whole thing will turn into this kind of effect there, right? Okay, so undo, right? Undo, and then you can go back to original. Now, of course, one of the very obvious things that you want to deal with your image is cropping, right? So when you press crop, then basically you just drag here, drag your crop, and then do this. Then you can literally just crop your image, right? Done. Then your image become like this, okay? And you can continue to manipulate it. Now, canvas size is very interesting. So here you have an image, but you want to expand the backdrop bigger so that you can put other stuff onto it. Then you can enlarge your canvas. You can make your canvas, for example, like 20 by 30, okay? So I make the back canvas very, very big. And what you got is here. So essentially, I work with a big canvas and I have my first layer of the photo as my item here, which I can move around, right? And if I want my backdrop canvas to be, okay, I want some kind of bluish color, I can do a something called a paint bucket, okay? A paint bucket here. So it means that when I pull my paint bucket here, I can make the whole place the color I want, like just like that. Okay, so I pull my paint bucket here. So there's a lot of manipulations of image that you can play with. And sometimes if you want to use Photoshop to do touching, like you want to get rid of things, then you can use this many tools to blur things or do things. Now this is a gradient tool which is very, very nice. If I use this white, I can create a gradient by just dragging it like that. Okay, so now this become a kind of effect, right? Okay. And then my layer of my photo is at the back, so I need to drag it up to able to see it. But then my gradient is covered up by my by this layer here. Okay. So in order to see my gradient, I need to allow this to be transparent, right? So this part has to show my photo. So I can either make it translucent, or I can change this white part to be translucent so that it show the backdrop, right? All right, now, so these are a lot of these manipulations that you can play with Photoshops and arrange image how you want it to be. And just remember your canvas size would be your print size, right? If later on, if you want to print this as a poster, then you have to change your your image, your canvas size to it to the size of your canvas. So this is 20, like let's say 24 and 36. Okay, so this is 2 feet by 3 feet. So it's bigger. And at the same time, you want to make sure that your image is not 72. You have to make sure that your image is at least 300. Okay, in that case, this will comes out as much bigger. All right. So you want to see the whole view, then fit on screen. Then you can see that this, when you print out this whole thing, this will look sharp. Okay. Now, so the image size is at 300, 24-inch, 36-inch. Everything that you put in it should be sharp, right? Sometime you can, like this image of the photos, it still looks okay here. Sometimes you can cheat it by just enlarging, making your photos larger, right? Making it larger. But sometimes this image looks fine, right? When you enlarge it like that. But when you start printing it out, it will start to look fuzzy. You won't be seeing it here on the screen. That's why, okay, so let's go to actual size. Okay, so this is actual size. You can see that this photo is sort of acceptable, but you can see that when it's printed out, it's not exactly as sharp as things should be as a print material, right? You can see the edge comes out, start to come out, all right? And some of the photos that you get from, from the web are not good quality, and then it will start to see being fuzzy. This is already not sharp, right? So you can see that when this is being printed out, which is normally this is used for a web photo, is not necessarily the way you want it because it's not optimal. Okay. So let's go back to this is actual size, and I can fit on screen again and see the whole layout. Okay. All right. So I think I kind of give you an idea of how Photoshop works, and the requirement depends on what kind of outputs that you want. If you want to just do a web-based output, then sometimes it looks fine. Then you just save this, right? Save the whole file as a uh, JPEG or TIFF file, all right, or PDF. And you can save a copy, right, as a JPEG file, which is very, very popular. Um, as a good JPEG, to be used on the web. But if it's for print, it's better to be TIFF or Targa. These are higher density file that contains more color information, so that when you print out, those color that you've seen on the screen would be faithfully reproduced as you want on the print material. Otherwise, if there's not enough information on your file, the color will change and shift. Therefore, when you print out something, especially for mass production, if you print out thousands of copies, you have to test, right, with the printer to give you a proof, a test print to make sure everything looks all right when it's a physical print out. All right. Okay, so I think I have walked you through enough for the basic operation of Photoshop. There's still a lot to learn, and I'm sure there are tons of tips and tricks on the web where people are experts on Photoshop, people who make a living. And you can still be a good graphic designer um, even with AI, right? Because you have to know how to put the design together. AI will only help, but it's not exactly what you want, right? What's in mind. And so you work with AI to produce something even more interesting. But the basics of manipulating arrangement, organization, sense of proportion, sense of composition, it's still part of the designer's job, right? And then you just kind of work with AI, you tell AI what can be better, it gives you options so that you have more ideas. So essentially, this is like a hybrid condition with graphic designers. My friend, who is a graphic designer, is learning AI, enthusiastically because he knows that eventually he's going to work with AI to produce what he wants to do and to make a living out of it, right? So so Photoshop, this is Photoshop. So hopefully we will be doing more tutorial later on and to give you more tool sets to work with. And besides Photoshop, of course, there are other program on the Adobe suite that is very good to use, but I will introduce it one by one later if students are excited about this whole tutorial. Okay, so thank you for your time, and I hope this completely give you an idea of how to do your poster, your presentation poster later on, which you have to print out. You have to print out to present at the end of the semester. All right. Thank you. See you soon.